But we also have one during the live cast that came up from Fiona Lieberman. She said, in your book, you mentioned that you used to be quite messy. As someone who leaves a trail of carnage on a project, do you have any advice on how you change your mindset to get more organized? Well, if you look at my shop behind me, I think you'll notice that every table surface is covered with crap. Yeah, the shop and the whole space needs a real addressing. Advice. I am a neater maker now than I ever was before. And that's because I've seen the dividends that it pays. So even though every table surface is covered, there's very little chaff. It's all wheat. It's all good stuff. And also much of it is localized, right? Like there's some Samaritan, there's a Boba rifle case, there's some machine tools I bought, there's a future one day build back there on the, so I now put things in containers, and that does a huge amount towards allowing things to be messy and yet still keeping them organized. On this, which is my main interface with making stuff, there's always extra crap on here. Like this ruler, which I bought on eBay and I plan to clean as a one-day build. It's going to be a one-day build, so it's just sitting here kind of waiting, kind of reminding me. This also, yeah, there's little things waiting to be put away. But you asked a really specific question. Do I have an advice on how I changed my mindset? Yes. And it comes down to that conversation that I like to talk about as a conversation between present me and future me. So every table surface is covered. However, this weekend I did come in and do a bit of sorting, even though it doesn't look like it's neater. I don't lose things with nearly the frequency that I used to. And that is a humongous dividend. When I want to work on something, I can almost always find it. That feels tremendous. And the opposite of that feeling is a feeling of total lack of control. And a lack of control is one of the things that I am most afraid of. Like, I don't like not feeling like I have control over the situation. Of course, control is an illusion. We all have our crosses to bear. I just have to come to terms with the fact that control is an illusion. In fact, I think that's why I make stuff here at the workbench. This is the place where I get to experience the very pleasant illusion that I have some measure of control over my world, which I do not. Yeah, the universe doesn't care about me. I'm an insignificant, to quote Tim Minchin, I am an insignificant speck of carbon, and my life is short and unimportant. But here at the workbench doesn't feel like that. And when present me talks to future me, and future me says, it's going to feel a lot better if that workbench is clear when I come in tomorrow. Present me says, you know what, you're right. I'm going to put on some Daft Punk, and I'm just going to put all the things away where they go. And that first look at the bench where I'm like, I got rulers, and I got bronze props, and I got pieces of ABS plastic, and blades, and knives, and rapidographs, and ink. So many things to put away. Instead of thinking about it, I just pick up the first thing and I put this thing where it goes over there and there. And I take this thing and I put this where it goes over there. And within literally like 5 minutes, 85% of the work is done. It always takes less time than you think it's going to, than you dread it's going to take. Andrew Montgomery has a question. Talk to me about your meditation practice. Zen, Tibetan? Do you follow any specific teacher? Or are you affiliated with a Sangha? Does your meditation practice inform your approach to making? Yes, my meditation practice is a shambles. I'm terrible about the sitting, and yet it's really important to the making, and it's really important to the balance in my life. I do not follow a specific teacher. There are many meditation teachers I absolutely love. And my wife is a much more assiduous student of the field and practitioner. So much of my exposure to the field is through her. Writers and speakers like Eckhart Tolle or Pema Chodron. Pema. I love Pema Chodron. I love the way she talks about her practice, and I love the way she talks about herself, especially the way she deals with her anger and her meditation. Vipassana is the meditation that I have been taught and that I practice when I do it. And when I do it, my life is better. It's really that simple. I still, one of the things I have not done, which is a 2021 life goal, now I'm stating it publicly, is to do a retreat, a real 7-day no speaking meditation retreat, which would have to be virtual, right? It would have to be kind of in my house, which is a thing. And it's a thing that people are doing. It's the thing that is happening. But everybody I know, and I have many friends and loved ones who are much more serious practitioners than I am, talked about doing retreats, talked about that what happens over a multiple day meditation retreat is something truly special. And having had the experience over the last 20, 30 years of the meditation that I have done and how much it has improved my life, I really look forward to trying something like that. It's very difficult for me to consider pulling myself out of my life for 7 days without doing something. I'm addicted to doing. Andrew Coy, former White House advisor to making and code CS for all, Andrew likes to talk about, he calls it get it done-itis, get shit done-itis. I've got that. It's really difficult for me to consider removing myself from my life for 7 days. And yet I plan on doing it. My first exposure to meditation was reading Ram Dass in my late teens. Be Here Now, and 3 or 4 other books. And I think I found Ram Dass by starting with Carlos Castaneda. Not that one led to the other, but when you're reading one, you're never far from someone who's going to tell you about the other. Baba Ram Dass, an amazing teacher, an amazing speaker, a wonderful articulator of his experience. And luckily enough, in the early 90s, I got to work with him. He did a 10-part series at the Scottish Rites Temple in Oakland, and I art directed the set that he was on and got to go to all 10 weeks. The production company I had formed with some friends back then, we produced that stage series for him. So we got to meet all the musical guests, Mimi Farina, Arlo Guthrie, Peter Gabriel, Bob Weir. It was a pretty amazing time. But interacting with Ram Dass really stood out to me. My favorite thing he ever said, my favorite piece, what do you call it? Slogan. My favorite slogan I ever heard from Ram Dass was, only total despair precedes a change in consciousness. Only total despair precedes a change in consciousness. Yeah. That sounds bleak. It's not as bleak as it sounds. And I have found in my 53 years on earth for it to be wholly and entirely true.